Well, we're streaming live on Facebook. That's what it's saying.
Okay. We're ready to go. Ready to start the meeting.
Okay, everybody, it's 6:30. It's time to convene our regular scheduled board meeting. Everybody like to please stand, make appropriate move, and help me recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all. Appreciate it. Before we begin, I need to read a couple of statements here. The first one is the board members and RCS staff will be attending a meeting by electronic communication pursuant to Governor Pritzker's Executive Order 2020-07 and 2020-33. Some board members may elect to attend the board meeting means. Consideration of the COVID-19 pandemic, the governor's disaster proclamations, and the executive orders, members of the public will not be permitted to attend the meeting in person, but will be able to view a live stream of all open portions of the meeting on the Rancho City Schools 137 Facebook page. And a recording of the meeting will be posted on the RCS 137 YouTube channel and also on the RCS 137 website. If you don't mind, it's time to do a roll call.
Bill Sweat.
Here.
Joan Fitzgerald.
Here.
John Brotherton. Mark Keys. Andy Graham.
Here.
Sandra Ulott.
Hey, Sandra, can you hear us?
Sandra was on. I also can tell you that John is present here in the building. So he is here. Sandra, I don't see anymore. She'll need to log back in.
John is mute.
Okay. Joe Robinson.
Here.
I'm mute now.
Sure.
In fact, I'm going to call Sandra to let her know that she dropped off.
I can take care of that while you continue the meeting.
Okay, thank you very much, Michelle. Okay, which moves us to item number 2, which is an action item for the agenda. Has everybody had a chance to review the agenda? Does anybody have any anything that they would like removed from the agenda? Any questions or comments regarding it? Now, I do have to say that item number 7, we're going to remove from the agenda. And that was the professional evaluation plan. And if another board member would like to go into closed session, the superintendent doesn't have any information for us for closed session. Therefore, we can also remove the closed session item, which is item number, I'm getting to it. It's coming here. For policies, this is a big agenda. Item number 30 and 31.
Bill, do you want you and me to do the first to second? That might be easier if we just, since we're here.
Okay. So if no board member has any questions or concerns regarding the agenda, then would someone like to make a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
So moved.
Who was that?
Andy.
Okay.
I can't get mine up.
Motion to approve the agenda as amended.
You can get yours.
Made by Andy Graham. Here to second.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, and that was
Joan.
Joan Fitzgerald seconded. And all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone
Aye.
opposed? Anyone opposed, say nay. Anyone abstaining? Okay, that's unanimous. That motion carries, and the agenda has been approved as amended. And we're moving item number 7, and we're moving to items number 30 and 31, which is closed session and return from closed session. Okay, that takes us to item number 3. It's my understanding that there were no public comments submitted in the recommended time frame. So we have no public comments for tonight. That moves us to item number 4. It's a presentation regarding our curriculum, and that's going to be from Jennifer Frericks. She's the superintendent, the assistant superintendent, and the RCS teachers. So Jennifer, you're up.
All right, I believe we're going to just play the presentation, and a big shout out and thank you to all the teachers and the coaches that helped put this together for us tonight.
There we go.
Playing. It won't.
We do apologize for having technical difficulties. Too bad it's not like a TV program. We can just switch to commercial.
And in K through 3, we use something called skill streaming, and in 4-5, they're using responsive advisory. And those are just specific lessons that we think that our kids might need in SEL. So maybe it's listening, maybe it's impulse control, maybe it's taking turns, but it's a chance for the teacher to explicitly teach what it looks like, how to do it. The kids practice. That skill might be practiced all week or 2 weeks, depending on how the teacher wants to do it or what the kids need or how good they get at it. So that's an important part of every classroom and every day. In getting it into other academic instruction, one thing that every classroom is also doing is interactive read-alouds. And it's not every read-aloud that we're integrating some of this, but it's definitely a piece of them. And sometimes very specifically with a book that gets the kids to interact and giving back to the teachers. They're talking to each other. They're using the book for examples or launch off points into deeper conversations and skills that we think they need. And of course, we're still using conscious discipline a lot. Teachers just use that all throughout the day in their plans and how they interact with kids. The language that we use is centered a lot around conscious discipline. It really helps skills in SEL that they're missing and that they need.
Hello, my name is Misty Denny, and I am speaking for Broadmeadow Elementary School. In our implementation of balanced literacy, we have incorporated the components of the interactive read aloud, literacy centers, and language walls. The interactive read aloud is the impetus for classroom discussions. The discussions are then transformed into the language wall, and the literacy centers provide students with opportunities to synthesize learning by connecting the read aloud, language walls, and classroom discourse. Our Our goal is to be intentional and purposeful in using benchmark advanced materials within the structure of balanced literacy to create one cohesive product that engages students in learning that is contextual and relevant. To understand how this works in the classroom, I will introduce you to our benchmark Unit 5, Week 2. The theme of the unit is inventions and inventors. We start with our engaging read aloud. The books are chosen based on the theme of the unit with the intention of building interest, providing additional information, and initiating classroom discussion. The read aloud, in addition to the benchmark text, helps students answer the unit essential question and weekly essential question, which then become our language wall. The language wall is ever evolving as students build on their answers to these questions throughout the unit while they read and discover more about the topic. During literacy centers, the students apply what they have learned to complete meaningful activities. The book center is made around the benchmark weekly story. It extends the learning to include additional inventors and expands the learning about the inventors highlighted in the benchmark series. The debate center requires students to think about two inventions from the benchmark story and discuss which one was more useful. This question requires students to synthesize information gained through the interactive read alouds, the language wall, and the benchmark series to form opinions and debate it with their fellow peers. When they've formulated their opinion and can defend it, they use the independent writing center to write about it. The students constantly refer back to the language wall during the writing process. Rethinking how benchmark and balanced literacy fit together this way has reaped many benefits in the classroom. Negative behaviors are reduced due to the fluid environment and the fully engaged student. Context and relevance are built in even if students do not have significant prior knowledge. And students retain more when they're immersed in gaining new knowledge while simultaneously applying what they have learned. This method also has other benefits. It ensures the longevity of the benchmark curriculum while embracing the new approach to balanced literacy, and it opens the door for teachers to create comprehensive units of study, including science, social studies, and writing, all based around the benchmark themes. Teachers are more likely to embrace the new curriculum and strategies when they're presented in a way that shows that they can be used as one unit instead of several different components. We are very excited as we look to next year, and we look for ways to improve on this way of teaching, including technology and the new writing curriculum. So we're very
Hey, Michelle, is she muted?
It appears the sound is having problems.
As we started planning and integrating the science and social studies standards, we've integrated mystery science into this. So each grade level has been working on tying the science unit from benchmark and bringing mystery science into it. So students are experimenting and creating projects and also using the literacy. So here are some of our students engaging with the science standards and using mystery science that go along with what they're learning in benchmarks. So they're able to read about specific science standards, and then they're able to try those out and use them in their learning.
Hi, I am Jenny Jameson, the instructional coach at East Lawn. Patricia Valente and myself will share how Spanish and English collaboration through balanced literacy has happened at East Lawn. One component that we took high value in this year was many of the teachers often stated that they wanted more time to collaborate with each other. So we made it a primary focus at each of our half-day professional development days to offer collaboration in the Spanish and English languages, where these teachers come together to work on the components from that professional development that tie back to their classroom.
Here in Rantoul City Schools, we have an excellent opportunity to not only learn English, not only have the curriculum mystery science and benchmark in English, but we also have that opportunity to learn in Spanish. Spanish language development, English language development, and with our students and with our teachers as well, it's really important to have that opportunity to be able to learn the Spanish and be able to use the academic language of Spanish while you're teaching the Spanish. So in Isan, we had an opportunity to really have a half day in Spanish where we talked about benchmark and intervention, and we were able to bridge what the district curriculum was implementing in the classroom in English as well as in Spanish. And this was our Spanish time that we were able to use the different curriculum components, speaking in Spanish and integrating it into how would we speak that in Spanish language development. So this is an example of the awesome opportunities that we have to speak in two languages and learn in two languages, not only for the students, but also for the teachers.
At the beginning of the school year, we had a book room that was quite disheveled. As you will see in the photo to the left, the book room, the wall that is empty shows our Spanish materials for teachers to use with their students. And if you notice to the back, that's the little bit of stuff that we could offer to our bilingual and ESL teachers to use in their classroom. So with the initiative and the recognition of needing to add to this, you will see now the middle photo is our book room after we recognized our shortcomings, and that left wall is now Spanish materials for our bilingual and ESL teachers to use with books that are in Spanish, and the right wall is the English books to use in the classrooms for teaching reading and other various science and social studies pieces. The back wall is going to become a cultural set of books that teachers can use for read alouds that represent the cultures of the students that are represented in our building. So that will represent a variety of different cultures through reading. We also took some time to really recognize the libraries in the classrooms and realized that our quality of books, both in English and Spanish, were little less than desired. And so we became very intentional with taking a look at the books and the text and not only focusing on student interest, but focusing on high quality books for the read aloud that our students could see themselves in. So these are just a couple of examples of some great libraries that have been developed through our focus and initiative with balanced literacy.
Because at Rantoul City Schools, we believe in biliteracy, biliterate, that students would be able to speak in Spanish and in English, that they would have the opportunity to develop in both languages. We have the awesome opportunity at Islan, as well as PA, to be able to partner with teachers across classrooms. So we have a classroom here in 4th grade, where the students were able, they practiced their Spanish, and then they were able to share and integrate into another classroom where they practiced ESL and grew in English. So the opportunity to team between teachers, between grade levels with English and Spanish is amazing. And at ESON, we were able to start that more frequently this year. And along with the Spanish speaking and biliteracy, the increase of resources, the opportunity to do interventions, the opportunity to grow the Spanish and build the foundations, we were able to bring in more parents and be able to celebrate the culture that we have at Rantoul. So at ESON, also at Broadmeadow, there's a program called the DREAM program. And the DREAM program at ESON was able to really incorporate our bilingual parents into the bilingual classrooms where they were able to support the students and be able to support the school. And many of our parents were there every day. We saw them in the classrooms. We interacted with them. They brought in the community. They planned events. It was amazing. And the BPAC committee, the bilingual parent committee that was also met at ESON Elementary, was a combination of parents from all over the district that were able to, we got together, we talked about the program, we were able to plan. It was an amazing opportunity to bring in parents. So as the bilingual program grows, as it grows in each of the schools, we're able to foster that connection between the community and the parents. And this really helps us to be really effective in our teaching in the classrooms and with the curriculum that we're using.
Good evening, my name is Pam Spain and I teach at Northview. I'm here to give you some information on iReady, math, and how it is meeting the needs of our students at RCS. I also want to preface this by saying that there are so many resources with this curriculum, I'm only going to touch on a few. There are several components to iReady. First off, it provides individualized online instruction after students take a diagnostic test to determine the areas of improvement. This is great for all of our students, especially our students, since we are at so many different levels. The Teacher Toolbox is a digital site where teachers can go to access a multitude of resources that support whole group, small group, partner work, and individual work. Ready Classroom Math is helping our students develop a deeper conceptual understanding of math. A quote from iReady that I found sums it up. Ready Classroom Mathematics is a discourse-driven blended mathematics curriculum that enables all students to become independent mathematical thinkers and reasoners. This is great for our students because discussions and questions can be differentiated to reach all of our students. Ready Common Core Mathematics is based on the Common Core state standards and provides teachers with the tools to reach every student. For RCS, that is important because our classrooms are so diverse and we can meet each student where they are at. A very important component, in my opinion, is the student diagnostic test that is given at the beginning, middle, and end of the year. This gives the teacher an important glimpse at the student's strengths and weaknesses. Then we can take this data and use it to construct our lessons more effectively, create groups, and target more individualized instruction. This test breaks down the results into number and operations, algebraic thinking, measurement and data, and geometry. Not only is this tool incredibly important for planning, it then automatically generates online lessons for the student to fill in the gaps or provide enrichment opportunities. Another report that teachers can use after the diagnostic will tell what types of scaffolding or enrichment is needed for the upcoming unit. This is important for our students so that teachers can pinpoint exactly what is most effective and beneficial content to target. We are not just teaching the lesson in the book, we are tailoring it to fit our class and what they truly need. Most lessons start with posing a problem at the beginning. This problem allows students to try it on their own, talk with a partner about it, and compare and contrast methods, and then connect it to everyone. This routine is set up at the beginning of school and continues throughout the year. This is a place where mathematical discourse starts. Several things happen during this part of the lesson. Students are introduced to academic vocabulary, given individual think time, given an opportunity to turn and talk, and compare and contrast strategies and methods, to name a few. This is important for our students because this is where they are listening and learning from peers, gaining important vocabulary, and learning about other strategies to solve problems. This is also great for our students because it provides a time to interact with peers, to learn to discuss and disagree appropriately, and to teach each other. This is a sample of some of the discourse cards that are available to us. They are differentiated and offer different levels of questioning for students. These cards are a great tool for teachers. Knowing your students and their levels help teachers to pick the right question to ask the particular student to move them forward. Like I said, there is an abundance of resources in this curriculum. I put a few on here and I've talked about most of these. It does also provide online IAR practice for us, and there are several videos for students and teachers, as well as family letters that explain the unit. In closing, iReady and Ready Math is meeting the needs of our students. We have students that are at a variety of levels in math with a variety of skills. This curriculum gives teachers the tools to meet all those levels and to encourage a student to progress.
So my name is Heather Benz. I'm 8th grade math and science teacher at JW Ader. And I'm just going to kind of touch on Ready Math and iReady. I know you just heard about it. We do use this at the junior high. The thing that I really like about iReady and the Ready Math is it develops mathematical reasoning through lessons. It uses real world problem solving. So you get it a lot of the time, hey, how am I going to use this in the real world? Especially when you get into the junior high math, 8th grade math, it's like, well, when am I ever going to use this? And the thing that I really like about the Ready Math is that it tells you, it gives you examples. It has real world problems that they have to solve. And so the Ready Math is just something that it shows them, yeah, this is how I use it. So the iReady, iReady is the online portion of the Ready Math, and the iReady, it's an adaptive test. It identifies the student's strengths and weaknesses, and it generates data that provides both teacher-led and personalized student online instruction. So the data that I receive from iReady, I can share with the student, and then that helps me identify groups for guided math. It helps the students because it will give them personalized online instruction to where they're at, to what they need practice with, where their skills are. And so it supports students that are on grade level, below grade level, or even above grade level. There's a lot of enrichment activities that can be used. There's just so many resources to use with the Ready Math and iReady that with the online, the workbook, there's so many things that the teachers can use when providing small group instruction and even whole group instruction. So it really does a great job supporting students where they're at and where their needs are. And so at Ader, we are using, it's called HMH Science Dimensions. Again, the thing I love about Science Dimensions is that it shows and why do we need this? Where do I use this in the real world? Students learn, they explore, they do it through exploration, analysis, application, and explanation. So it really gets them thinking. It's those critical thinking skills that they need to think. How do I get there? What, where do we go from here? It's got real world science experiences. It offers online and physical textbook in both Spanish and English, which is great. It has engaging lessons and labs. So each lesson, it has online labs. It has the physical labs that we will use in the classroom. It has so many different resources that you can choose for each lab. There's explorations that the students can do on their own, or they can do in groups. And then it's really easy to navigate. So the online portion of the curriculum is really easy, even for students. Like, they can get onto their, you know, honestly, all I have to do is say, go to HMH, and they know exactly where they're going. And so it makes it really easy to navigate. And so that we're not losing time trying to navigate through an online textbook that may be more difficult. The labs are really great to keep them engaged. There's a lot of engagement that I've seen using this curriculum. The kids are really super engaged, and they look forward to what are we going to do next? What are we going to learn next? So I think engagement has been very much improved with this curriculum. So there is a student ebook. The ebook matches there's a physical workbook that students get. So if they're not able to have access to, a Chromebook, or some students prefer a paper copy. So they have the option, what fits their need, what fits their learning style. So the ebook and the textbook, the workbook are exactly the same, and they can choose which one works for them. Or as a teacher, if I feel like, hey, let's use part of the ebook or part of the textbook, that's something that we can do too. So we have just a lot of different things that we can do.
All right. Good evening, distinguished board members. My name is Nathan Titus, and I'm one of the 7th grade social studies teachers at J.W. Ader Junior High. Go Bulldogs. I will also be teaching 6th grade social studies next year as well. I want to discuss with you tonight about the social studies curriculum we use at Ader. So our curriculum is called Discovery Education, or Discovery Ed for short. Discovery Ed is an online tech book, yes, tech book, not textbook, that allows the students to travel through historical eras in chronological order through the use of primary and secondary source videos, documents, articles, maps, group activities, and much more. Each chapter of this tech book is also aligned with numerous Illinois state standards that the website lists for the teachers as well to use. Discovery Ed is extremely engaging for our students, especially in this modern world, since the curriculum is entirely online. But it still allows flexibility for teachers to utilize their own content and supplemental materials for the most optimal learning environments in the classroom. Discovery Ed also makes it easy for students to learn the content via multiple modalities, letting children access their visual, oral, and kinesthetic mind frames. Teachers at our school are allowed some independence in the use of this curriculum as well. Some teachers use Discovery Ed as a database of sources to interpret during specific time periods. Some use it as a means to give students practice activities of the learning goal for the day, and others utilize the curriculum for a mix of those two ideas. But here's why Discovery Ed is so effective. I've already talked about the flexibility, okay? There is no set way to utilize Discovery Ed, so each individual teacher can adapt it for their specific classes and classrooms. It also has a plethora of diverse sources from historical figures of all races, religions, socioeconomic statuses, and creeds. What I really like is that it doesn't solely focus on the major players of history, but it also includes the history of the common person. Discovery Ed has done a lot of the grunt work for teachers, since teachers are given multiple amounts of already created discussion prompts, videos, charts, and assignments for each chapter of the tech book. The great part about the assignments is that teachers can assign them straight from the website to each student's Discovery Ed, but can also still print out paper copies if that is needed for an accommodation or modification. If teachers do not care for the questions or the look of a particular assignment, they're actually allowed to edit each assignment as they please to accommodate to each of their specific class's needs. And of course, you can still print out those new and improved copies. Teachers are also able to pin assignments to their own Discovery Ed account. So if they want to use them for next year, they can. And they can also organize and save each of their class schedules and class agendas straight to the Discovery Ed website. So whenever they log back in, personal account ready to use for next year. I love these next two functions, by the way. Teachers can actually change the reading level and language of each chapter. Students can do this as well. We have students who may not necessarily read at grade level. And because of this, Discovery Ed gives 5 different options for reading levels based on each student's ability. The defaulted reading level is going to be appropriate for many of our students, but the option to change it is there for us to use. Also included is a large number of languages to translate each assignment into, 22 languages to be exact. Since RCS has such a large number of English language learners, students may not necessarily speak English at home, and they will still be able to read the exact same information just in their home language. Are also interactive in the sense that students can highlight important words, people, or phrases in 9 different colors. Underlining words is also an option as well. The best part is that these manipulations to the text save automatically to their account. So whenever a student reopens that specific reading or that specific assignment, their annotations will be there saved for them to use in the future. The one negative attribute of Discovery Ed is that it does not include many connections to current events. But again, that gives us, the teachers, flexibility to be creative in including those connections where we see fit in a manner that works best for our classes. Thank you to the board for your time and attention today, and I will gladly try to answer each of your questions as best as I can.
Hello, my name's Elizabeth Vandervelde, and I'm a 7th grade reading language arts teacher. I'm here to talk with you about our reading and writing curriculum. We are continuing the journey to implement fully the Readers and Writers Workshop using the Lucy Calkins curriculum. This year especially has been really exciting as we are implementing the Readers Workshop. Lucy Calkins has finally finished putting out all the units of study and reading for grades 6 to 8. So Readers Workshop, if you're not familiar, is based on having students do the real work of reading and become lifelong readers. We do this through different book clubs and book studies, maybe like a genre study of historical fiction or dystopian units, or maybe we focus on a particular literary trait or like a theme, like social issues book club or a deep study of character. We also are using the Writers Workshop. In each grade level, the Writers Workshop covers narrative writing, informational writing, and argumentative writing. And then in the last couple of years, we've really been gearing up our guided reading intervention. To do guided reading intervention, we use our FastBridge assessment and the next steps in guided reading in order to pinpoint which of our students are striving readers, who in our classrooms are on grade level, and who are accelerated so that we can meet all of their needs. Our guided reading is a way to target what those striving readers really need, focusing on fluency, decoding the actual act of reading, and the comprehension skills and the writing component that goes along with fully understanding what you're reading. And we do that work of guided reading both with nonfiction pieces and with fiction pieces. This year, the reading language arts teachers also really benefited from a lot of summer training and planning time. During that summer training, we were able to work through the reading and writing workshop models again. And this is essential as we have new teachers coming on board and as we have teachers who have maybe been at AIDR for a year or two to continue to receive this training so that they can become high-level reading teachers and writing teachers. And then we were also able to get a significant amount of time for planning. I know for the 7th grade teacher team, that meant that we started the year with a map for the entire school year of what units we wanted to cover, when we wanted to start them, and when we wanted to end them. One of the other important supports that we have at ADER are our teacher study teams, our TSTs. And so those are led by our instructional coaches. Vicki Cox leads the Reading and Writing Language Arts TST. And these are by grade level. They're a weekly meeting that help us focus on our whole class instruction as well as those interventions. This year, Vicki spent a lot of time with us working on what we needed to implement with fidelity our learning intervention of guided reading. This meant she did training, additional training on every week, as well as supporting us as we were gathering data, reviewing data, and working through that as a group. This past summer, a few teachers, myself included, were able to go to Columbia University to actually attend the Reading Institute by Lucy Calkins. And that was a phenomenal experience. One of my greatest takeaways from that was just the inspiration of how all of these different pieces fit together, the importance of creating lifelong readers, and the work that we can do as teachers to help match our students with text. And so this isn't just simply about leveling books, but it's about truly understanding who these kids are as readers. My next slide just has a couple of pictures. So one you'll see with me and Vicki and a group of students. That's one of my guided reading groups. Vicki actually came alongside me and really helped me get the guided reading program going in my classroom. I knew a lot about it. I understood it in my head, but being a secondary teacher, actually teaching reading, like teaching kids how to read, was something that I still wasn't very comfortable with. And her short coaching cycles really built my confidence and was leading to greater student learning as I was able to implement that intervention well. In the middle, you'll see a picture of all of these amazing, diverse books that we have been able to purchase these last couple of years. So I believe that all 6th through 8th grade reading classrooms now have the entire set of book club books that they need. So in that cabinet, you'll see there's actually 4 copies of each book that we have. There's hundreds of books there. They're at multiple levels to address all of our student needs, and they're featuring diverse authors so that our students can find their reading identities and their own identities in the pages of these books that we're offering them. And the last images that I have are just some of the resources that have been published by Lucy Calkins and her team. One of the reasons why I love this curriculum is because of the teacher resources. They have a huge amount available to us online. And so they are creating different storyboards that help our IEP students and our ELL students with their comprehension as we're doing class read alouds. The reading curriculum has recently published pre and post test assessments for each unit in order to help us, again, collect data and to assess our student learning. They also have a number of exemplar texts and mentor texts for our writing program. And those are just a few of the ways that we continue to grow and grow our readers at the junior high. Thank you.
Okay, board members, does anybody have any questions or comments regarding the presentation we just witnessed?
I'd like to thank the teachers who made the presentation. They were very enthusiastic. It sounds like they understand completely what they're doing and what they're going about, and I praise them for all their hard work.
Okay. Thank you, Joan. Anybody else going to make any comments? Then if you don't mind, I'd like to reiterate what Joan just said. I'd like to thank you guys for making an excellent presentation, and hopefully everybody will understand our curriculum and what we're trying to accomplish here in our school district. So your teachers, if you want, you guys can sign off and have a great evening. This moves us on to item number 5. If there aren't any more questions or comments, this is the consent agenda items. First thing, item A, we have our board meeting minutes. This from the April 16th, 2020 regular board meeting and open meeting minutes. B, we have the bills and treasurer's report. C, there are payroll dates. D, we have the annual drill reports for 2019 through 2020. E, we have our board meeting schedule for 2020, 2021. The recommended schedule includes moving the November 19th board meeting to Tuesday, November 17th, due to the 111 Chicago conference. And then March 18th is during the spring break. Recommended moving to the 1 week earlier, which was March 11th. Item F, we have credit card approval for Amy Bloomberg and Lori Bednards and Shannon Clark at $5,000 each. We added Shannon Clark to this list for approval tonight. And then for district signatories, which we do every year, is for the Bank of Red Tool signers as presented. And we have activity, which is Michelle Ramage, Kendra Good, Tara Minion, sorry if I mispronounced your name, Christy Deere, and Jennifer Ferricks. For the impress, we have Michelle Ramage, Kendra Good, we have John Brotherton, Bill Sweat, and Jennifer Ferricks. And then for claims clearing, we have Bill Sweat, John Brotherton, Michelle Ramage, Kendra Good, Jennifer Ferricks. And then for H, their donation, that's a Broadmeadow received the Dollar General Literacy. It's $3,000 for summer books for the students. Anybody have any questions, comments, or concerns regarding the items in the consent agenda? If nobody has any questions, comments, or concerns, then would someone care to make the motion?
I have a question, Bill. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I was muted. Did you say that Dollar General Literacy was 5,000 or 3,000?
3,000.
3,000. Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
It says 5,000 here, though, Bill.
Yes, it was a typo.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda items to include ratification of bills prepaid by the finance manager under board policy 450 and changing the Dollar General Literacy grant to 3,000, not 5,000.
Okay, thank you very much. Joan made the motion. Anyone care to second it? Mr. Brotherton, he said he was going to second. And we'll need a roll call vote on that, please.
Graham,
Aye.
Ulot, I don't know if she's here.
She is here. I don't know if she's muted or not. Yes, she's muted. There it is.
Oh, aye. I got it unmuted finally.
Brotherton, Fitzgerald,
aye.
Keys,
Aye.
Robinson,
Aye.
and Sweat.
Aye.
Can you try Brotherton again? Did you?
Brotherton,
Oh, you have to unmute it. No, you're still muted.
Sentence.
There you go.
there. Yeah. I can
I'll
hear
say
him
what-
through Bill's.
Aye.
Okay, that's unanimous. That motion carries, and consent agenda items are approved. Since we didn't remove anything from the consent agenda, item number 5, so we're going to move on to number 8. Number 8 is an action item. It's the 2020-2021 wage increase for cooks, substitutes, and CODA, and that's going to be presented by Kendra Good, Finance Manager.
Good evening. The cooks, the wage scale has been updated to continue to keep in line with the upcoming $15 an hour minimum wage requirements. The substitute increase recommendations, $5 increase per hour for every position below I think that's $5 per day, maybe. Except full-time subs, right?
Correct, yes.
Okay, per day, not per hour. I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Anyway, except for full-time substitute teachers, their current full-time substitute teachers, our current full-time substitute teachers will receive a 3% increase for 2021. And then the CODA, which is a certified occupational therapist assistant, the RCS wage scale is not competitive when compared to other area districts and cooperative wages. A first-year CODA with no previous experience will have a wage change from $16.80 an hour to $20 an hour. That's it. Any questions?
Board members, does anybody have any questions regarding what was just presented to you?
Do we have any trouble finding certified occupational therapists?
They are not the easiest to find, no. It's right along in the realm of special education.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anybody else have any other questions or comments? Concerns? If not, then would someone care to make the motion?
I'll make a
And
motion.
I'll jump in.
I'll make a motion to approve the cook and CODA wages and substitute rates for 2020, 2021 as presented.
Okay, the motion was made by Mr. Keys. Who cares the second?
I second it.
Okay, it was a tie. Mr. Robinson, we'll have you as the second. And then we'll need a roll call vote on this, please.
Ulott.
Aye.
Keys.
Aye.
Fitzgerald.
Aye.
Graham.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
Brotherton.
Aye.
Sweat.
Aye. Okay, that's unanimous. That motion carries and wage increases are approved. This moves us on to item number 9. It's an action item. It's the final tax levy. And this will be presented by Ms. Ramage, the superintendent, and Kendra Good, the finance manager.
Okay, I will be sharing a document with you in a few minutes. But first, I just want to kind of give some background of what has been happening. So this discussion is the final tax levy calculation. That's from the county clerk's office. And so we received that. RCS and RTHS we were absolutely shocked to see that the county clerk's office removed the TIF 1. To give you some history, Kendra contacted Sasha Green, who was a tax extension specialist at the county clerk's office regarding TIF 1, and was told at that time that the TIF would be added to this year's EAV, the one that was presented to the board in November and approved in December. Originally, RCS planned to levy for this increase, but because the leadership at the county clerk's office did change, RCS called their office asking if the TIF was indeed coming off this year. RCS was told no, it would not come off the tax levy until April, and that would be the following year's tax levy. In October of 2019, Mr. Amario and a couple other superintendents, so Mr. Amario being the superintendent of RTHS, and a couple other superintendents representing ROE 9 superintendents, met with Mr. Ammons in the county clerk's office about the late tax payments and its profound effects on the districts. At that meeting, Mr. Amario asked Mr. Ammons if TIF 1 was coming off this year. And Mr. Ammons said, yes, it was on his list to come off. This apparently was not the case. On April 9th, our final tax calculation from the county clerk's office did not have the TIF 1 included, which is what we were told would happen. Then on April 14th, the county clerk's office sent us a letter stating, in our post-tax computation review, we found an additional taxing district that should have been removed. That's referring to the Rantoul TIF 1, which has an impact on your total extension after TIF and enterprise zones were factored in. Note, this does not change the amount that you levy, just the amount extended to your district after TIF
and enterprise zones are factored. The county clerk's office sent the corrected final tax calculation sheet with TIF one added on April 16th. Kendra immediately emailed them and asked what we could do to receive these additional dollars. Angela Patton, the chief deputy clerk, called the state's attorney's office. Mrs. Patton advised there isn't anything we can do at this point. We have worked with RTHS, and actually a big thank you to Scott Amerio, a superintendent, to communicate our concerns and weigh our options of possible next steps. The community and the board need to understand the ramifications of this are a loss of $693,919 that we could have received if we had levied for the if we had levied for TIF 1 on this year's levy in December. We have talked about this TIF coming off for a couple of years now. We were prepared and what we need to do for that 1 year. You as a board, you know that that discussion has occurred over and over again. So that has passed. It is over. We will never recoup this money, and it will be compounded year over year because the levy is calculated on the extension base. Our new extension base moving forward is $5,215,334, not $5,909,811, an increase of $694,000. We would have been in a little better position had we chosen to go above the 4.99%, knowing that in a typical year, it does not go above CPI. But the reason to levy a higher amount is for the unforeseen situations such as this. If option 1, and I'm going to share my screen now. If option 1, can you see the?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay. If option 1 was approved instead of option 2, our new extension base would be $5,346,716, an increase of $131,000 for our district in a time of such need due to our current COVID-19 situation. So Kendra's going to talk briefly about the exact figures that are shared on this screen.
The first column has the 2 options presented at the board meeting in November, and the board approved option number 2 at a 4.99% increase, which results in a decrease of $43.93 for a homeowner of a $100,000 home. Option 1, if chosen, would have been a 7.63 increase, would have resulted in a $3.97 decrease for a $100,000 home, an increase of $131,382 to the district. The second column shows our final tax levy we will receive next year. This is a decrease of $229 for a $100,000 home, a substantial decrease. The bottom portion of the column shows the possible tax levy with TIF 1 included. We lost $693,919 for not levying for TIF 1. If the board decided to amend to recoup this money, this shows that there still would have been a decrease in taxpayers' bill by $42.63, close to what we recommended in November, to capture the $693,000 that we lost. We fully realize the political implications that amending tax bills that citizens have already received with a substantial reduction is tough.
So it is it is not even likely possible to amend. We are beyond the legal deadline to amend this, but we did talk to our attorney about that. He says we can always try. It's just probably not going to happen. So that isn't really a possibility of an option of something to do. I wanted to make sure that we mentioned a side note that RCS has received multiple types of misinformation and or no information from the county clerk, treasurer's office since the new leadership. Oftentimes RCS has to call and get information about payments, tax levy sheets, breakdowns of payments, etc. We have doubted information coming from these offices quite a bit. So as I already mentioned, there really are no options at this point. And I already mentioned that we have talked to our district attorney, and we could try to pursue legal action. This is something that will take years. Since the communication was not reduced to writing about when the TIF would come off and that whole discussion, we really have no proof of that verbal conversation that we know took place earlier this year. So our attorney doesn't feel we really have much of a case, but we wanted to make sure that the board and community clearly understood the implications of this and the lost opportunity. There isn't really any action for the board to take unless the board would like us to pursue this further with legal action, which we would be able to discuss. But I don't really think that that's going to be much of a realistic option.
Any board members have any questions or comments?
I have a comment.
Okay.
In light of the fact that it wasn't in writing, and our attorney thinks we don't have a case,
True.
I think it would not be smart of the board to try to pursue legal action because we've already lost a lot of money, and that we would just incur an immense amount of legal fees that we can't afford at this point in time.
Okay, thank you for the comment, Ms. Ulott. Any other board members have any comments or questions?
My only comment would be it's a sad day when we can't trust our county clerk's office to give us the correct information.
Okay, thank you for your comments, Ms. Fitzgerald. Anybody else have any comments?
Michelle, has Scott relayed this to his board yet? And did you get any feedback from their reaction or anything?
I am not sure.
Okay. Thank you for your comment, Andy, and question. Anybody else have any questions, comments? So then overall consensus is don't try to pursue it, or does somebody want to make a motion to direct this superintendent to try to pursue recouping this loss?
My mother always told me don't throw good money after bad.
There you go.
Yeah, I tend to agree with the attorney. He said, she said.
That's right.
You know, what have we got to prove?
True. I concur. I saw Mr. Key shaking his head. He doesn't want to do it either. So that's three of us. Ms. Ulott definitely says no. That's four of us. So I just take it that it's kind of unanimous that we're not going to try to pursue this, and we can just move on to item number 10. Board in agreement. We just move on to item number 10.
Yes.
Okay. All righty. Then this moves us on to item number 10. Oh, sorry. Thank you, Michelle and Kendra, for your presentation. Item number 10 is an action item. It's investments, and it's regarding your certificates of deposit. And Ms. Good, you're up again. She's our finance manager.
RCS reinvested a little over $2 million for 6 months in a CD at an interest rate with a gain of $23,000 through the Illinois School District Liquid Asset Fund.
Mm-hmm.
Those came due May 7th. Our local bank couldn't give us a higher rate than they could. And with the unknowns of finances in Illinois, we are recommending that due to these times for the next 2 years that we do not reinvest the CDs at this time, and we just put that in our bank account at Bank Arena Tool for needed expenses. And then we can revisit it later if the interest rate goes back up. Right now it's only like 0.5%.
Oh.
Or it was. It could be lower than that now, but it's really low.
Well, I thank you for presenting that information to us. Any board member have any questions or comments or concerns for Ms. Good to address? No questions, comments?
I was gonna recommend go ahead and do it. It just takes us to November, but if that's the interest rate, yeah, I agree. no sense even doing that.
Okay. Thank you for comments, Ms. Fitzgerald. Anybody else?
Kendra, are we limited to a local bank and then the one that we always do, or can we shop around at all? Is it worth shopping around, or?
Oh, I bid them out all the time, every time. Yeah.
I didn't know if we were limited to just a local bank and then this Illinois school. No.
No. Okay. I've asked Busey Bank, they've never responded. First bid, sometimes they say they can't. Commerce Bank in Champaign, I've sent them to them before. So we can ask whoever we want.
Any other board member have any questions or comments? Well, if someone doesn't mind me saying, you know, you really hate not to invest it. However, with the previous presentation, we are already down a substantial amount of money. By not investing this, this will allow the superintendent to access some funds to cover any unexpected expenditures or to fund any shortages that we may have for this, at least the remaining of the school year and for next school year. Anybody have any thoughts about that?
Sounds right.
Agreed.
We could bring this back in 6 months and revisit.
Or if Kendra finds a good deal in between then and now.
Yeah. Or if we find out more information about our funding sooner than that, then we'll have a better idea. But at this point, we don't know how much the 1% sales tax is going to drop, and we don't know how much funding we're going to get from the state. So to be safe,
hang on to our money that we've got.
Yeah.
Okay, so will we have to amend that motion then to not invest and then revisit in 6 months? Or can we just leave the motion as it is and still revisit it in 6 months?
Whichever you want to do.
I think if we make the motion not to reinvest funds in another CD, it's not forever. We're just making that motion for right now.
Yeah, I would agree. If you say November, then we might be bound to wait until November to try it. So I would just leave it as is, and we can revisit it at any point in time at that point.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then if everyone's in agreement, then would someone care to make that motion then?
I'll make a motion to approve not investing funds in another CD.
Okay.
I'll second that.
The motion was made by Mr. Keys, seconded by, was that Ms. Ulott?
Yes.
Okay. And we'll need a roll call vote for this, please.
Keys.
Aye.
Fitzgerald.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
Ulott.
Aye.
Brotherton.
Aye.
Graham.
Aye.
What?
Aye. Okay, that's unanimous, and that motion carries. So the fund won't be reinvested. This moves us on to item number 11. It's an action item. It's transfer activity for the account balances, and our finance manager, Ms. Good, you're up again.
Okay. Just to give you a little background, back in 2016, we had a lot of activity funds, and our auditor told us that we shouldn't have so many, and we condensed a lot of them. So we proportioned it as a percentage for the athletics, and we put $2,200 in the cross country account, and they don't ever use it for anything. So the recommendation is to move this to the general athletic fund so they can use it for all sports. And then the step club has no longer in existence. So after it's been inactive for a while, you can move it to another account. And that's only $32.60, I believe. So, and that would also go to the athletic account.
Anybody have any questions, comments, concerns for Ms. Good to address? If not, then if board's in agreement, then would someone care to make that motion?
I'll make the motion to approve a moving activity funds from cross country and step of $2,247.71, the general athletic fund.
Okay, the motion was made by Mr. Brotherton.
I'll second.
Seconded by Ms. Fitzgerald. And we will need a roll call vote on that, please.
Fitzgerald.
Aye.
Graham.
Aye.
Brotherton.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
Keys.
Aye.
Ulot.
Aye.
What?
Aye. And that sounds unanimous again. So motion carries and the funds will be moved to the one general fund. This moves us on to item number 12. It's an action item. It's our property, liability, and workers' compensation insurance. And again, our finance manager is up. Kendra?
It's time for a renewal again, and per the PSIC member meeting, that's the insurance cooperative that we belong to, that they held on May 15th, all member districts were seeing a significant increase in the excess property premium for 2021 due to overall member losses of current market conditions. They told us on the 15th that we would have a 40% increase, but we got the actual renewal today. It is up 21%, but not as bad as 40, with an increase of $30,000 total for 2021. And they increased our deductible from $1,000 to $2,500 per claim on both property and automobile. So it's just the market trends right now with a lot of storms, hail damage, COVID, Me Too movement, that type of thing, that it's pretty much industry wide that everything is going up. Questions?
Kendra, you said that in the packet that the increase is 40%, and that's an additional 30,000. But if it's only 21%, you said that was still 30,000.
Yeah, I know that's the paperwork that they gave us from the meeting. So I don't know if they miscalculated on their sheet that they gave us, because we just went there by that. So
yeah,
let me get my calculator out right quick.
And this also, so we got our information on the 15th. We send it to Bushu, which is a company that we work with. They are a broker type company. And so they looked at all the documents, and they're the ones that finalized everything, confirmed everything, put it in language that we understand, and sent it back to us. So between the 15th and literally today, this is what they provided for us. So it's more specific information. I feel a little bit more confident that it came from them, and I'm glad we got that today. But yes, it is still the $30,000. And did you talk about work comp?
Oh no, I skipped that. Work comp we have with a different cooperative, and that premium is only going up like $1,300. So that's not bad, especially for our district. It's really good.
And I don't mean to be picky, but I do want someone to eventually get out their calculator and make sure it's $30,000.
I know.
Hustling over.
I knew I would anyway.
I figured you would.
Yeah.
Okay, does any board member have any questions or concerns? Thank Joan for pointing that out. Any other board member? If not, then would someone care to make the motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the property liability work compensation insurance renewal as presented.
Okay, motion was made by Ms. Fitzgerald.
I'll second it.
Seconded by Mr. Brotherton. And we'll need a roll call vote, please.
Keys.
Aye.
Fitzgerald.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
Ulot.
She's in the restroom.
Brotherton,
Aye.
Graham,
Aye.
and Sweat.
Aye. Okay, we have 6 in favor and 1 no vote. That motion carries, and we will renew the property liability and workers' compensation insurance.
I think she abstained.
I was going to say, I don't think she voted no, she abstained.
Let's make that 6-1, okay?
Vote. Down.
She's saying aye.
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 She said aye. Okay, it's unanimous.
Aren't you glad I'm keeping track both?
All right, this moves us on to item number 13. It's an action item. It's for the students' fees and meals for 2020, 2021. And I guess it's the Kendra show again.
Okay. There's only one fee increase for parents, students, and that's locker fees. And they want to increase that by $1, probably because our costs are going up. And the other fee is only in place if incurred, if a Chromebook is damaged and replacement, the cost would be $200 instead of $150. And staff meals had to increase due to the ISB audit. Student meal prices increased, but it's only administrative due to the ISBE audit. And meals for all students are free. All other fees will be the same as this year.
Okay. Anybody have any questions or comments? Ms. Good? Any questions or comments for the rest of the board?
I'll make the motion.
Okay.
To approve increasing meal prices, locker fees, and Chromebook replacement costs as presented.
Mr. Brotherton made the motion. Anyone care to second? I'll go in a second. So motion by Mr. Brotherton, seconded by Mr. Sweat, and we will need a roll call vote, please.
Brotherton.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
Fitzgerald.
Aye.
Graham.
Aye.
Ulott.
Aye.
Keys.
Aye.
Sweat.
Aye. Okay, that's unanimous. The motion carries, and the fees will be increased as presented. This moves on to item number 14, facilities update, and our facilities manager, Shannon Clark, will do the presentation.
Yes, Shannon has provided her update and her presentation by a video, so it's pre-recorded. And give me a second, and I will post that video. Can you see the screen?
And welcome to the board meeting on May 21st, 2020. I'm Shannon Clark, your facility supervisor, and I will be touching base on a few different items. I'd like to go over what we did in spring break during the COVID-19 stay-at-home order and our summer facilities list. I want to touch base first on the spring break. Our staff worked extremely hard in facilities, making sure that every classroom was touched with our e-sprayer. During this process, we used a Husky 892 disinfectant, which kills a number of viruses, including the norovirus. The CDC seems to think that this also kills the norovirus. So that's what we're going to continue to use in our classrooms. The kibosh is used in our Kivac machine. We do the bathrooms with this machine. It's a no-touch cleaning process. We bought that early on, and we love it. We are in the process of purchasing 4 more e-sprayers. One of them is going to be a little bit larger for the middle school so that we can cover a larger area of space in a very short period of time, so that when we return, we have these available for us. I wanted to let you know that we are doing everything we can to make sure that these buildings are clean and ready for the safety of the students and the staff. So with that being spring break and not returning, we went into COVID-19 stay-at-home order. For the first week, most of my staff stayed home. The second week, we ended up coming back to work and working a limited schedule, working 6 hours a day. We are now back to working our full 10-hour days. Monday through Friday, and I will be here on Fridays. First, let's touch base with Pleasant Acres. Pleasant Acres, if you have an opportunity to stop by there and take a look at the vestibule, I would encourage you to do so. Here's why. We ended up putting FRP from the ceiling to the floor to cover up the space and make it look more uniform and welcoming. We also decided to strip the floor, put the epoxy down with the blue and white chips, and then we sealed that with some wax 3 times. In the future, this small space will save us a little bit of money because we are not going to have to strip and wax this floor every year like we currently do in the rest of the building. We're going to have to be able to do this every 2 to 3 years now instead of every 1. Long term, I would like to see the entire building done, but that's in the future. So once we have monies available, maybe we can touch on that subject again. We have painted 6 classrooms over the COVID-19 stay-at-home order. 2 or 3 rooms are currently completely ready for the school year, which I'm excited about already. Fire alarm panel upgrade. We upgraded their fire alarm panel to an addressable system. However, we were not able to do the devices to change them over to audio visual at this time. This was part of the 10-year health, life, safety plan. Also on the 10-year health, life, safety plan, we are in the process of installing an exhaust fan in the teacher's lounge. Moving on to East Lawn, we also used some FRP over there to freshen up the hallways, but we only covered the tile like we did in the main entryway. Brown Russo was able to come in and do that during the COVID-19 stay-at-home order with limited staff in our buildings. So we're ahead of the game. That was one of our summer projects, and now it has been completed. The fire alarm panel over there has been changed out to an addressable system. The audio-visual devices also are part of that upgrade. They got the whole new package. So that was part of the 10-year health, life, safety, and is still in the process of doing that. Johnson Controls and Simplex are still in the process of doing that. However, it will be completed before the summer is done. Not sure if you've driven by the South parking lot lately, but over the winter break, we discovered while plowing that we had a sinkhole in that south driveway, right where the parents are dropping off the students to the main entryway. So what we did is we called in a company, they raised that space for us, and we ended up putting a flush manhole cover back on there so that we're not hitting it with our plow and damaging that area again. Moving on to Broad Meadow, we have an exhaust fan that's being installed in the teacher's lounge per our 10-year health, life, safety. They have also got 5 or 6 rooms ready for the next school year. They have done some painting. They've also done some repair work in the bathrooms on the stall walls. Moving on to Ader, we replaced the main hall doors with the frames and the hardware. This was part of the health, life, safety 10-year plan. All of those doors are completed except for a few with the new locks. We painted all the hallway fire doors to freshen up the look. The library, all the furniture was cleaned. The carpets were shampooed already. They've painted custodial closet shelving to freshen them up, make them look nice. And then right before spring break, we discovered I was called down to the 6th grade hallway for a urinal that continued to overflow. And as I walked in, I noticed that the smell was not a smell that I would want my children walking into. Did a little bit of investigative work, realized that the exhaust fans were not working at that time. So I called in somebody and they looked at them and they were the original fans. So I went ahead and had them replace those because we do need working exhaust fans in our restrooms. Over at Northview, the gym, we installed a new climbing wall for the children. The principal purchased that and we were glad to install that for her. There have been 4 classrooms painted so far. They have cleaned out their shed. They have serviced their mower. They also cleaned up the fence line. At central office, we have a new administrative suite. We have a superintendent's office, assistant superintendent's office. We also have a conference meeting space, and we will have a file room in there. One of our staff, custodial staff, is now doing the drywall work in there and making sure it's all mud and taped for us so that we can get painting. We started, our maintenance guys started converting all of the light fixtures over to LED for cost savings at central office. We also installed plexiglass for Hannah and Christy's safety because they are on the front line here at central office. We installed a new door and hardware over at the warehouse. And that's about all we've done so far. As you can see on the list of things that you were given, we have done much more, but I just didn't feel I needed to read all of those to you. Moving on to our summer break projects, we are in the process of doing a lot of restorative work right now. Our main focus is the classrooms, bathrooms, locker rooms, if allowed. We'll be installing plexiglass where needed for the security and safety of the secretaries when they come back. The kitchen equipment, we have turned off a lot of that stuff in hopes that we're not running without food in them all summer long. We're trying to do some preventative maintenance on all of the equipment as well in all of the buildings. The parking lots, we're going to be patching those as well. We will be doing that ourselves this year to save some money. Central office, we plan on taking the court or the fence down next to the building that's next to the courts. We'd like to add some new signage and some landscaping to this place as well. Broad Meadow, we'd like to paint some gutters, do some landscaping. We do have a water furnace heat pump that needs to be repaired over there in the gym. So we will be working on that. It's kind of a priority. East Lawn, we are going to be finishing the office remodel. We have some gutters and downspouts that need to be repaired. And we're getting a new sidewalk and entryway into that building. Northview, we're going to add some LED lighting replacement to the exterior lights. And we are going to paint 5 rooms. At Pleasant Acres, we're adding a new door and a push button entry for the safety of the secretaries. We're going to do a little bit of landscaping, and we also have a water furnace heat pump that needs to be repaired over there in the gym as well. At Ader, we have 4 or 5 classrooms that we would like to paint. I didn't list but 2, but they keep coming in, so we're going to roll with that as they come in. Ader, the back parking lot, I'm not sure if you noticed, driving through, we took down that small fence that was back there by the 6th grade hallway, so we need to patch those areas, and then we're going to repaint or restripe that parking lot for more parking for staff. At First Student, we need to add a concrete step for their main entryway. This was due to a insurance walkthrough that happened this last school year. And we'd like to get that taken care of so that we can report back that we're being compliant. Also, some LED lighting replacement is in need over there. So we will be taking care of that over the summer. I'd like to end with saying this. If we do not come back to our regularly scheduled school year for 2020-21, I wanted to let you know that because of the money situation, we will only be doing small projects ourselves this next school year if we have to stay, if the rest of the staff has to stay at home. One of the main things that I would like to see happen is I would like to get Pleasant Acres completely painted, all the 3 walls that need to be painted in every classroom. So far we have 6 completed. I think we need to roll with that, and then we'll move on to the next school. If you have any questions about anything that we are doing or concerns, please let us know. I will have my phone on and ready for any questions during this board meeting. Feel free to give me a call. Thank you, and please stay safe.
Okay, does anybody have any comments or maybe some questions that the superintendent might be able to address?
Sounds like they've been keeping really busy. Appreciate their work. Don't know what FCP is that they're spreading all over the place. I'll have to call her and find out.
It's I don't remember what it stands for, but it covers up. So in a lot of the buildings we've started covering up, you'll remember the shiny brick that's on the bottom half of the wall in the hallways.
Yeah.
It's something to cover that. It just looks a lot nicer than that shiny odd color sometimes. So that's what I think of as a wall covering. And Jenny's on, and she probably has a more a better term to use, but that's what I think of when I look at the wall. Is it's just a nice covering for the wall.
Okay.
I wanted to mention that that central office suite. Wow, that sounds really fancy. Not heard it called that, so I'm gonna start calling it that. I wanted to make sure that everybody understood why we're having to create some new office space. We have to give back.
Sorry.
We need to give back 2 very large spaces here in central office to the junior high because their enrollment keeps increasing and they're running out of space. So we are giving up the space that we have here in central office and going to smaller offices so that the students and staff at Ader can have that, right? There goes Dr. Woods. He's all excited. So he says it's not enough. We need more, right? But it's something. So yeah, we're smaller office staff overall in the last few years. So we're going to take advantage of giving that space to, where it's needed. Any other questions?
Any other questions or comments from the board? Then if not, then we'll just move on to item number 15. Item number 15 was changed from an action item to an informational item. At the time that we were preparing this agenda, the grant opportunity was just being announced. Just a little bit of information. There's no cost to the district to apply for the grant. And our Assistant Superintendent, Jennifer Frericks, is going to be discussing the rebuild of Illinois Fast Track grants. Ms. Frericks?
Hello. I didn't know if Michelle had wanted me to talk about it or not. I think, so there were 3 grants that all came out, but the one that's more specific for the schools is this Fast Track grant. It's for up to $5 million. Michelle and I met with the architect and our architect VP and kind of brainstormed priorities. And one of the biggest priorities would be for the demolition of Mina Thompson, which I'm sure everybody agrees on that. But the grant won't allow demolition only. Another piece of the puzzle that we've worked on and have discussed multiple times has to do with an early childhood center. So that is what I am planning on writing this grant for, is for the demolition of Mina Thompson and funds to build an early childhood center.
And our chances, or it's a competitive grant, and
yes. It's very competitive. So we're asking for the maximum of $5 million. The total amount of money that they're going to give away for the entire state is $25 million. So if 5 people ask for $5 million, the money's gone. So our chances are pretty slim, but we might as well give it a try. If we can get something done, we figure we'll go for it and see what happens. The other 2 grants, Michelle and I met with the village to talk to them. One is a village grant. And then the other one is an infrastructure grant. We'll try those next if we can, with the same kind of focus in mind. If we got all 3, it would be $12 million. Again, complete shot in the dark. But we're gonna go for it and see if we can make something happen for our community.
Okay. Anybody have any questions or comments? Well, I tell you, I appreciate you being willing to try to get those grants. I mean, money's there. Why not try? What's the worst that can happen? Say no? Anybody
Our
have any-
demographics should show that we need something like that.
Yeah.
So hopefully that'll help us.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for trying and good luck.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any-
I found out what FRP stands for, fiberglass reinforced plastic. I'm sure Jenny probably knew that, but fiberglass reinforced plastic. So
I posted it in the chat so everyone can see it.
thank you. I don't know if anybody's got their chat on, but I can't.
I do.
Me too.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, then, if nobody else has any other questions or comments, then thank you, Ms. Frerichs, for your presentation. And we will move on to item number 16. Item number 16 is a resolution. It's an action item. It's a resolution authorizing and directing the sale or disposal of personal property in accordance with 105 ILCS 5/10-22.8. It is likely that a specific resolution will be brought to the board as the district continues to reduce obsolete and damaged materials in sheds and classrooms. I'm just requesting approval of a resolution authorizing and directing the sale or disposal of personal property in accordance with 105 ILCS 5/10-22.8. Some of the items that they're talking about, they're either broken or just, so old. Back in Fred Flintstone days. And we're talking about desk chairs, shelving, the old-fashioned tube televisions, and some carts. So, board, anybody have any questions, comments, or concerns regarding this resolution?
How are you going to sell it?
Actually, for this round, there's nothing that's sellable. We always say sale or disposal in case there is something that's that we could sell. I'm gonna tell you that we probably won't come across anything that needs to be looked at for sale. We did this exact same type of resolution when we did the huge clean out of the sheds. So we kind of went through everything at that point to see if what was worth, selling at this point. And that's another reason why I would like to come back to you every month or 2 months in case there is that, to keep you up to date. It's also free publicity in case anybody's listening now that we're live. In case there is an interest, then we could talk about how we're going to go about doing that if there is something that's worth a sale.
All righty. Anybody else have any questions or comments, concerns? If not, then would someone care to make the motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution and authorizing and directing the sale or disposal of personal property.
Okay, Ms. Fitzgerald made the motion and Mr. Brotherton seconded. And it looks like we don't need a roll call vote on this. So all those in favor of this resolution, say aye.
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 Okay, anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining? Then it's unanimous. Motion carries. And so we adopt the resolution. Okay, this moves on to number 17. It's an action item. It's the consolidated district plan, and it's going to be presented by our superintendent, Michelle Ramage.
Hey, Scott Woods, Allison Didier, and Jennifer Frerichs, they all completed the consolidated district plan. It's required to be submitted annually, and we have to submit that before we can have any access to several grant funds. The consolidated district plan was presented at length last year at this time, since it was the first time that the state had required that. So there was a PowerPoint and a lot of time was spent talking about the consolidated district plan. The purpose of the plan is to consolidate, the name of this event, consolidate and streamline the federal grant application. It is to provide efficient technology that brings, it just creates collaboration between all of the different grants. You can tell if you have special ed, We have bilingual, we have Title I. It's just bringing all of that collaboration together to make sure that we have the same purposeful goals. So that helps ISBE understand holistically what it is that we're providing for our students. So there is a PowerPoint. It was updated and it will be posted on our website. And we also have Jennifer and Scott and Allison on Zoom tonight if you have any questions.
Well, board, does anybody have any questions? Well, I just have one question for some of the board members. Have you had a chance to look at the goals? Do you agree with the goals? Comments, questions, concerns?
I recall that last year I agreed with the goals as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Same. Correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
Correct.
Mm-hmm. Okay, then, if nobody else has any comments, questions, or concerns, then would someone care to make the motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the consolidated district plan as presented.
Okay, Mr. Ulott made the motion. Was that Mr. Keys who just seconded?
Yes.
Okay, so Mr. Ulott made the motion. Mr. Keys seconded. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Anyone want to abstain? Okay, it's unanimous. Motion carries, and the consolidated district plan has been approved. Good job, guys. Thanks for the hard work.
For sure.
Hey, this moves us on to number 18. It's the annual local educational agencies, the LEA determination, and our special education director, Ms. Didier, will do the presentation.
Good evening. I want to just briefly review this with you. Our LEA report is just as it's described, it's annual. It is based on the requirements placed on us by our federal requirements for students with disabilities, as well as the state requirements. So they monitor the data that we collect, our timelines that we're honoring. They look at our discipline data, look for discrepancies within different disability categories, and they rate us on a scale of 1 to 4. In each of the indicators that they're monitoring, we've received the highest score. I should have started with, this is based on the 18-19 school year. So we always get the information, the following year. So we also had no audit findings and no corrective action. So our overall score was a 4. So all things considered, this is a great report, and we're meeting our requirements. So that's good news.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for your report. Board members, does anybody have any questions for her? Comments?
Congratulations. Good job.
It's always a relief to get that report. That is for sure.
Good. Anybody else have any comments? Then if not, then Ms. Didier, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Continue the hard work. This moves on to item number 19. It's an action item. It's medical compliance for the 2020-2021 school year. And the specific code or law is 105 ILCS 5/27-8.1. And our Director of Special Education, Ms. Didier, you're up again.
Sure. So as you can read here, in 2014, the board decided with guidance from our nurses and administration that we move the date for children submitting their immunization records and their physicals to the first day of school. We still think that is appropriate and think that is in our best interest. However, given the unique circumstances that we're in this year, we feel like we need to temporarily change that date and go back with the state timeline, which is October 15th. We anticipate that the state may even move that back this year, given all of the, like I said, unique circumstances that we're in. Some of the concerns with keeping it the first day of school, obviously doctors' offices have not been as available and as open. They are taking patients. We've confirmed that they are open. So any parents that are listening, we want you to know that you can get your appointments. You can get your kids in to get their vaccines and get their paperwork done. However, they're seeing about half as many. We also realize that some of our families are dealing with some financial hardships. They're going to, possibly have some challenges getting to the doctor. We want to make sure that we kind of relax that requirement this year, and then maybe revisit it again for next year. The other piece to kind of consider is that the first 10 days that our nurses are on for the school year, they spend a majority of that time gathering the physical information, following up with families, entering all of it into our student information system. And they are going to be very busy the first 10 days of their contract this year, getting procedures in order and taking on all these new requirements if and when we're back in school. So I think it just, all things considered, it's in our best interest to move this back to that October 15th date or whatever date the state requires.
Okay. Well, thank you for your presentation. Board members, anybody have any questions, comments, or concerns that Ms. Didier could address for you?
Yeah, and it might not be for Alice, it might be for Scott as well, or Michelle, if Scott's still on here. But you had the little line in there about the junior high sports. That is, I just know that is always a struggle, especially getting those kids that are in those fall sports that start before school starts. If there's anything we can, I'm probably pretty sure Christy or Carl's not doing the mobile clinics this summer at all. So if there's anything the nurses can do or anybody can do in the summertime to encourage those going to be 7th graders and 8th graders are going to be participating to get them, I'd appreciate that, because I hate to see kids not able to participate without a physical.
So, Board Member Graham, I have contacted Carl about possibly doing a clinic just for athletics, for sports physicals. I have not heard back from them yet. I've also contacted IESA to get some clarification, and I'm waiting to hear back from them. But at this point, we haven't heard anything as to whether they're going to start fall sports. But we are actively looking this year for more ways to get kids access to those physicals, because that has been an issue for us.
And I will just add to that Darcy Widener has been excellent and very proactive in communicating with Carl. So she had already scheduled our dates for the mobile clinic, and we actually had one scheduled for the spring. That obviously that didn't turn out, but she had already reached back out to them and confirmed that as soon as they know that they're able to provide the clinic, that we're going to be one of the top ones on their list. So hopefully we can get that in place for August, maybe. And
I'm trying, and hopefully it will happen, to get something just prior to our winter sports for our 7th and 8th graders.
Okay. Well, I appreciate that. Thank you for that, because if I talked, it's crazy how many kids don't get to play or participate because of physicals.
And Scott, I know that you and I have talked a little bit about this exact question that Andy has. That is IESA's requirement, not our requirement, and we can't change that, right?
Correct.
I mean, if they change it, that'd be great.
I did one interesting clarification I got is that there is no special form that is required, and we have historically told our 6th graders, for instance, that they had to get a school physical and a sports physical. And they did clarify for me that that's not true. Whatever we accept as a physical counts for sports participation.
Anybody have any other questions?
I'm not authorized to do physicals, even though I'm a doctor.
Thank goodness. Yeah, we definitely want them. I don't want a child also playing a sport without a physical. We have to protect them that way as well. So, sure. Yep, do what we can to help them.
Anybody else have any questions, comments, or concerns? Then if not, then would someone care to make that motion?
I'll make a motion to move the compliance date for required physicals and immunization from the start of the school year to October 15th or a later date if ISBE alters that date.
Okay. Motion was made by Mr. Keys. I'll second it. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Anyone want to abstain? Then that's unanimous. That motion carries. And we'll move the compliance date to October 15th or at a later date based on ISBE's guidance. This moves on to item number 20. It's an action item. It's the RCS, First Student Transportation Amendment for COVID shutdown. Our current resolution ended on the 22nd of April. And because at that time it was unknown as how long the COVID-19 shutdown would last, this is extending the current contract amendment as presented in March through the end of the school year, May 15th, 2020. Anybody have any questions, comments, concerns regarding this? If not, then would someone care to make that motion?
I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
Sorry, Mr. Brotherton made the motion first. John, do you have your mic on? Yeah. Okay. No, you're still off. It's unmute you. There you go.
I'll just second it since I messed up. I'll second. Let Ms. Ulot do the.
Okay, Ms. Ulot, then you care to make, then Ms. Ulot, you're going to make the motion?
Okay.
Okay, and then Mr. Brotherton said he's going to second. And the motion is to approve the RCS / First Student Transportation Amendment for COVID-19 shutdown. And we're going to extend it to the 15th of May, 2020, which is the end of the school year. So we need a roll call vote, please.
Robinson. I didn't hear you. I'm sorry. Did you say yes?
Aye.
Thank you. Brotherton.
Aye.
Ulot.
Aye.
Keys.
Aye.
Graham.
Aye.
Fitzgerald.
Aye.
What?
Aye. And it's unanimous. It's been approved. Okay, this moves us to item number 21. Double check here. It's an action item. It's the RCS and third-party summer programs for 2020. And Ms. Ramage?
Well, usually this is like a really exciting time to get to talk about all the opportunities that students get this summer. And as you know, those summer plans in a lot of places, not just in schools, are not going to be able to happen. So RCS, we typically run 3 summer programs. We run ESY, Extended School Year, for special needs students. We run summer band, and we run usually the last couple of years a junior high summer school on a very small scale. For this summer, we will have extended school year ESY for special needs students. Those are approved through IEP meetings. We will have summer band remotely. So we'll see how that goes, but we recognize the importance for that band to take place. It's to get students who are ready coming into 6th grade and to continue their lessons throughout the summer. So while they may not be able to give a concert, and while they may not be in a parade this summer, they will be very busy with lessons with Ms. Jordahl. Junior high summer school will not be happening this summer. Our third-party programs, these are people who use our facilities in the summer. So we usually have Don Moyer Boys and Girls Club and The Dream. So this summer we will not have on our property those programs. So the Boys and Girls Club will hold a remote program. I don't have a lot of details about that yet. We meet in about a week to discuss that. And Dream will be housed at First United Methodist Church this summer. And I don't have a lot of details about that either. I'm sure that they were waiting for the next phase from the governor, and they're busy working on what that will look like. So the decision to not have any programs here on property is to continue the safety for our staff and students, and ultimately all of Rantoul. So we want to be in a position to be able to be ready when we are open this fall. Any questions?
Any board member have any questions, comments, concerns? If not, then would someone care to make the motion? I'll make the motion to approve no on-campus summer programs.
I'll second it.
Okay. Motion was made by Mr. Sweat, seconded by Mr. Brotherton. And all those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. Anyone abstaining? Okay, it's unanimous. That motion carries, and we will have no on-campus summer programs. Next item is item number 22. It's an action item. It's regarding board policies. As you know, the board policies were presented to the board last month for the first reading. The policies and administrative procedures 2:125 and 5:60 have a question regarding the board covering baggage fees in case of travel, which include flights. We do cover that cost for employees. Now, according to IASB and the press policy, the default answer to that is yes, to reimburse the cost for the board. After the board approval of these policies, the superintendent would like to discuss 4:180 AP3. Now there is one question the board will need to answer for the following policies, which is 5:60 and 5:60E and 2:125 E1 and E2. Does the board reimburse baggage fees? Okay, so board members, how would you like for us to answer that question?
No.
We don't reverse. We don't reimburse baggage fees.
No.
We don't.
No. Where do we fly? Where do we have to pay baggage fees?
The only time I could think, because I know you're right, you guys don't travel. The only time I could think is if it's a grant that allows you to go somewhere to, let's say there's a grant for you to go to the National School Board Convention, and the grant doesn't pay for your baggage fees. Would you like the district to reimburse you for that? It's probably not going to happen. It used to happen. It used to happen a lot. I think that board members could travel that was long ago when there was more money in the school districts. So yeah. So this is just board members.
Okay, I suppose if I have to fly somewhere, I would like you to pay for my baggage.
Okay. What if you take the train and have to pay for the baggage? You never know.
Okay.
Okay. Any other board members? Are we agree that yes, the board does reimburse for baggage?
Will they buy me new baggage?
No, we're talking about reimbursing.
That's fine.
Okay. Okay. So other than that, does any board member have any comments, questions or concerns regarding any of these policies up for approval this evening? If not, then before we move to the motion, Superintendent, would you like to have a discussion about 4:180-AP3?
Well, you could go ahead and do a motion just so it's clear that it's on those board policies already talked about, because this one, the 4180 AP3 does not need board approval. And you haven't seen it. You didn't get a first reading or anything. So I didn't want to confuse it with all the other board policies. So if you want to go ahead and approve the board policies, and then I can talk about it.
Okay. So,
I'll make a motion to approve the board policies as presented.
I'll second.
Motion was made by Ms. Fitzgerald, seconded by Mr. Brotherton. All those in favor of approving the board policies, say aye.
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 Anyone opposed, say nay. Anyone abstaining? Okay, it's unanimous. Motion carries, and the board policies as that were presented tonight or have been approved. Okay,
right.
That moves us on to discussion.
Okay, so 2 days ago, we were notified by IASB to present to the board 4180 AP3, which is called Grant Flexibility, Payment of Employee Salaries During a Pandemic, to the board. It does not require board action, but rather board discussion if necessary, and at least minimally documented in the minutes that this discussion occurred. So the purpose is that, according to the law, in order for RCS to be reimbursed through grants for salaries or wages, that we treat grant-funded employees the same as other employees. We have been, we already did, but it needs to be noted in the minutes that we had that discussion. So is it fair to assume that we continue doing what we have been doing, which is this year, which is to pay grant funded employees the same as it's called the same as other situational employees, the same that we would for other similar employees?
Any boards have any questions, comments?
What do you mean by similar employees?
So if we pay, I'll give an example of if we pay any teachers out of a federal grant or a state grant, that we make sure that we pay those grant teachers just the same as we are paying our non-grant teachers.
Oh, okay.
For example.
Oh, yeah.
It's very strange. But I did call our attorney and said, really, we really have to do this? He said, yes, you really need to do this, and you need to get it in the minutes just in case something happened where they were audited with their grants and they asked that question.
Okay. And so historically, if we're paying somebody out of a Title I grant, they get on the salary schedule just like the other teachers.
Exactly.
Okay.
Correct. In fact, I would bet that probably those people who are paid through a grant don't know that they're paid through a grant because we don't treat them any differently. So
there may be some districts out there that did treat them differently, and if you were on a grant, you probably weren't receiving the compensation. Okay.
Could be.
So just to make it clear, we do treat our grant funded employees the same as other employees, correctly? Just so the minutes reflect that we do that, correct?
That's
yes,
right.
That we already do that. And even during COVID, we're going to continue to do that.
Okay, good.
During the pandemic, we're going to continue to do what we've already been doing.
Good.
Let's treat everybody fairly.
Just so it's perfectly
treat everybody
right?
equally.
Equally and fairly. That's right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
We grant them the same as everybody else.
Okay.
Okay. That's been said a lot of times.
Thank you. Thank you.
All righty. Move on to item number 23. It's an action item. It's the annual handbook approvals. It's for the staff handbook, substitute handbook, student and parent handbook. Sorry. These are prepared and ready for us to review. Hopefully, most of the board members have had a chance to review those. And just wondering if anybody has any questions, comments, or concerns regarding the handbooks that have been presented to us.
That's good.
Okay, Joan, thank you for your comment. Anybody else? If nobody has any comments, questions, or concerns, then would someone care to make that motion?
I'll make the motion to approve the staff handbook, substitute handbook, and student parent handbook.
Okay, the motion was made by Mr. Brotherton.
Second.
Anyone care to second?
Second.
Is that Mr. Keys?
Yes.
Okay. Seconded by Mr. Keys. And all those in favor, say aye.
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 Anyone opposed, say nay. Anyone abstaining? Okay, then it's unanimous. That motion carries and the handbooks have been approved. Okay, moves us to item number 24. It's an action item. It's the 2019-2020 final student calendar. Is recommended, and it's amended, they amended to amend the 2019-2020 calendar to move the last day of school from May 22nd to May 15th. ISBE entered the Act of God days, which do not need to be made up. Anybody have any questions, comments, or concerns regarding what the calendar?
Oh.
If not, then would someone care to make that motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the final student calendar as presented.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Ms. Ulott made the motion. Ms. Fitzgerald had seconded. All those in favor say aye.
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 Anyone opposed, say nay. Anyone abstaining? Okay, it's unanimous. That motion carries and the final student calendar has been approved. This moves on to item number 25. It's an action item. It's a job description for Finance and Technology Administrative Assistant, and it replaces the Central Office Secretary. Just a little bit of information. The Central Office Secretary has a title change to Finance and Technology Administrative Assistant. The position already exists. It is already filled. There won't be any wage increases. It's just simply changing of the title and job description to actual duties and responsibilities. Anybody have any questions, comments, or concern regarding this recommendation?
I'll make the motion to approve Finance and Technical Administrative Assistant job description that will replace Central Office Secretary job description.
Okay, Mr. Brotherton had made the motion.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Keys. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Anyone
Aye.
opposed? Say nay. Anyone abstaining? Okay, it's unanimous. That motion carries, and the job description has been approved. Item number 26. It's FOIA. This item was put on the board agenda at the request of a board member, and right now the floor is open to the board to have any comments, questions, or concerns they may have regarding FOIA.
Michelle, do you have a document that you could show up here that shows how much all the FOIAs are costing us?
I do. It's going to take some finagling for me to get that to happen. So,
or is it
Maybe we could go on while you look for it.
Well,
No, you're in the next part.
well, I have a document here in the board packet that we have, and as of it starts off at 5/1 of 2020. It's Mr. Anderson did a FOIA request for grading practices, and it shows that it costs. It looks like it costs like $23.66.
There we go. It's on the screen.
There it is. Okay. But if you notice that we just get a lot of FOIA requests and it's costly to the district.
1,400, 1,400, 500.
3 1,400s, 585.
There's one for 2,800, $2,850.
Keep going. Whoa.
That one. Can you go back up? Okay.
That was WCIA.
Yes.
Another 1,101.
that one we didn't. Am I on? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Remember, if I left me muted or unmuted, that one we didn't track employee hours. We didn't start tracking employee hours to gather the data back then. All I could provide was the attorney fees.
Okay.
For some of these. So
do we have a grand total?
I do not.
We do.
I don't think I have a grand total.
Okay, the last one had a grand total. Yeah, that's not the grand total.
No, that one was the Tribune.
Wow, that's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah. I understand. We have to be transparent. And if people want the information, we have to give it to them for sure. But there's got to be a way to do it that doesn't cost us so much.
Correct.
And these newspapers asking for all this stuff. And the odds are they probably never even use it.
Well, I'd like to make a comment about the transparency issue. I understand that there are entities that want us to be transparent, but at the same time, I think we need to be transparent to everyone in the community as to what those are costing us. And so I would like to thank Michelle's staff for now keeping track of this, because I think it's important that in the process of being transparent, that we share this information. Transparency is a two-folded thing. It goes both ways.
Totally agree. Thank you for stating that.
Yes.
Okay. So then we take it that we're all the board members are in agreement that the superintendent just continue to keep track of the cost of all the FOIAs and present it to us at each board meeting. What about posting that information up on the website?
Works for me.
I'm in favor of that.
I think that there's something that the board needs to understand is that we, I think we want the amount of the FOIAs to be shown when we actually have all the attorney fees associated with it also, correct?
Yes.
Because so they might run a little bit later than the month of FOIA was actually requested, because it takes a while for us to get the billing for the attorney fees. So if the board is okay with that, I think that's the best way to do it, is to show the total cost all at once for each FOIA, understanding that it might not be the month that was requested. It might be 2 or 3 months down the road, but we will keep track of it. Correct, Michelle?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. I just wanted everybody, I mean, that was how I understood it, and I just wanted everybody to remember that
there may be a lag. There may be a lag in some of the information.
Right. So, but we'll share the total information when we have it all for each FOIA.
It will get there, but it's just maybe a little bit behind.
Yeah. And I just think it's important that everyone see how much those are costing us.
Yes.
I'm all for transparency. I have absolutely no problem with that, but I think we just need to be mindful. You know, maybe there's other ways to ask for information that we could easily get you. No one's trying to hide anything, but this is just a big expense that we're incurring.
Yeah. And we're losing too much money now as it goes.
I think prior to this month, I think on the one that we've received the most FOIAs for, I think I had added it up and it was over $6,300. And I mean, you can look at that as supplies or, you know, a fifth of a teacher's salary or however you want to look at it. But I mean, if you take even $6,000 and divide it between 5 schools, you know, that's $1,200 worth of supplies or something we could have been spending on kids or on instructional materials
or library books.
Right. So yeah, I mean, I think it's important to see this. So thank you, Michelle, for your staff and everyone in keeping track of that for us. I appreciate it.
And we'll post that along with all the other board documents on our website.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks.
Anybody else have any questions, comments, or concerns regarding item number 26? If not, then we'll move on to item number 27. Pardon? What'd you say?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
And that we want to be transparent to the community and everyone else out there, but is there any way to avoid these fees that we're incurring? Does anybody have just suggestions for that?
So the time to contact an attorney is when there is concern about information that we're sharing the appropriate information, because obviously there is some information that is confidential that we cannot share. And that is not an easy task to determine that on our own, depending on what that FOIA is for. So the attorney is only contacted when there is a question about, most of the time it has to do with polling of emails. So let's say that there's a request to poll anything having to do with a certain topic. So we poll all the emails. You do a search by those words. We pull all the emails and it comes out in a big stack. And we go through all of those. And there are some that we may have questions about. So we have to send those to our attorney to make sure that that's information that we can indeed share. For example, emails between attorneys and us, that's confidential. So there are a lot of legal questions when it becomes a FOIA to make sure we follow it exactly, because I guarantee you, if it was not done exactly the way it's supposed to do, that we're supposed to do this legally, that will come back to bite us. So I want everything to be done absolutely on the up and up and legally, so that we're not putting ourselves in a difficult situation later. You can tell that there are FOIAs that we get that have no attorney costs. So the FOIA that you're going to see tonight from Jack Anderson regarding grading practices, that cost is just an employee cost. So how much time it took to gather that information and share that. That's relatively cheap. So without having to contact the attorney. There are several that we don't have to contact the attorney. But when the scope becomes so large, or the question isn't really clear, that's when we get the attorney involved.
Okay, I understand.
Yep.
Good question. Anybody else have any other questions?
Do you think any of this could just be done with regular phone calls, emails?
Conversations, a lot of it I think would have been, a lot of the FOIAs probably could have been some great conversations in person, definitely, or phone call.
Yeah, I guess that seems like that could save a lot of money. And obviously if there's a question of any misdoing, sure, it can be FOIA, which we would gladly give. But I don't think that's ever been the case that I understand, but it's just a lot of information that maybe could be done over conversation.
It's become become sort of tenuous at times, though, when dealing with a particular person, and so I'm very hesitant and very protective of the district now because of the repeated FOIAs. It's just very challenging. So I am pretty nervous to sit down and have those conversations at this point without involving, making sure that we're following everything correctly with the attorney. It's different than somebody else coming in and us sitting down and having a conversation when we have been repeatedly FOIA'd, repeatedly FOIA'd. It puts you on guard, and you want to make sure that everything that we're doing is absolutely correct, that we're giving. So I don't know if I'm explaining myself correctly.
Very understandable.
It's just created a whole different
atmosphere.
Possibility that, yeah. A whole different
it's not just the money that I find disheartening. It's the time that our staff is spending doing this and taking away from other things in the district that they could be doing instead.
I think one of I get FOIAs, I understand the importance. I think one of the concerns is that you can FOIA information and receive information, but if you're not in the field or you don't live this every day, the interpretation may not be correct.
It can be
misunderstood,
misconstrued,
and
then misrepresented.
Yes. So I think that's the frustration and hesitation, is that we provide the information, but had we been able to sit down and have a conversation about it, where questions can be asked. Certainly after that, you may know a little bit more of a narrow field as to what you would like to FOIA. That would certainly help. It's when it's the broad FOIAs and requests that are very difficult to provide.
Okay.
I appreciate the understanding on all that.
Anybody else have any questions, comments? If not, then we can move on to item number 27, which is an action item, which is the personnel report. And has everybody had an opportunity to review the personnel report? And if you have, does anybody have any questions, comments, or concerns that the superintendent can address in open session? Or if not, if you think that it has to go to closed session, I mean, we could always go to closed session real quick, just so you can ask the question, give the superintendent an opportunity to respond. If not, then would someone care to make the motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the personnel report as presented, including with the stipulation that each individual is required to comply with all requirements for new hires as indicated in Illinois statutes and RCS board policy and procedures.
Okay, motion was made by Ms. Hulot.
Second.
Second by Mr. Keys. And we will need a roll call vote on that, please.
Keys.
Aye.
Fitzgerald.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
Ulott.
Aye.
Brotherton.
Aye.
Graham.
Aye.
Sweat.
Aye. And that's unanimous. The motion carries, so the personnel report has been approved. This moves us to item number 28. It's just an informational item. First thing is item A is the registration. Michelle, would you like to discuss that?
Sure. Registration this year is pretty unlikely that it will be held in the same fashion that we have the last few years, which is a mass registration. I would like to just, if you haven't seen this on our website, Darcy Widener has created a how-to video online of how to register your child. It's very detailed. It's step-by-step. It's pretty incredible. So she has created all of that. As of May 20th, yesterday, we have 374 students. 6 of those are new to the district that have already registered. So we're way ahead of the schedule, and we will continue all summer long to keep coming back to that and reminding parents to get that done. So I wanted to thank the teachers who really spent some time pushing that out as well to help parents take care of that. So we're excited about that. At least something is out there for parents to access as early as, we're not even at the end of May yet. So.
Well, thank you for that information. Also, if you don't mind me making a comment, I have a colleague I work with, and he's already said he received 2 calls to register his kids already. So, so yeah.
Are you saying, are you saying that we're giving too much information?
Well, no, I'm just saying that, you know, I go walk out through some trash, and they say, hey, Bill, he goes, these guys must really want to get people registered. So yeah, I received 2 phone calls, so I'm already registered. You know, my kids are registered. So good job. I mean, those guys being aggressive and they're on it. So hopefully you can try to minimize those last minute registrations. Okay. So this moves us on to item number B, which is FOIA. And it should be in your board packet. Mr. Anderson did a FOIA request for grading practices, and the cost on that was $23.66. C, we have the EAP utilization report, which is in your board packet. Then we have D, which is ISBE dental data, which is also in your board packet. And then E is the calendar for the upcoming events. The events that we should be mindful of are, number 1, June 18th, which is our regular board meeting, and other events listed on the public agenda. And July 16th is our next scheduled board meeting. So those are the next 2 scheduled board meetings. Anybody have any questions, comments, concerns regarding the informational items that were listed here in item 28? If not, then we'll move on to item number 29. This is the board superintendent comment section. First item, remote learning updates. Michelle, would you like to give those updates?
Sure. I'm just going to give a brief summary. So you were provided with some information about how many students picked up packets, how many returned them. This was a new adventure for everybody involved, and I just want to thank the parents and the staff for everything they did to make the best of the situation that we had on hand. But I wanted to instead focus on moving forward. So currently we have an instructional committee that's comprised of teachers, the association, and administrative representatives. The purpose of the committee sounds pretty simple. Number one, explore and create different scenarios of returning to school. And number two, to not have each of the individual teachers worry and have these scenarios about having these scenarios ready for the fall. You can imagine if each teacher is trying to figure out this on their own, that won't be very good collectively for the whole. So that sounds pretty simple, but it's very involved. The committee is creating possible alternatives to what our school day or school week may look like in the fall. The key word is it's creativity, I suppose. So for plan A, which could be remote or distance learning, plan B, in-person learning, or plan C, a hybrid of both. We could even have a plan D yet to be thought of. When we return in the fall, there are likely many safety parameters that must be put in place that changes the way we do instruction. Groups no longer than 50, still social distancing of 6 feet. Those are just a couple examples. So think about what that looks like in the classroom. For us, that means maybe up to 10, in some classrooms, about 8 students in one room. So teaching practices themselves will look very different. When many of us went to school, we sat in our desks and in rows, or maybe I'm just showing my age. That is not what the elementary classroom looks like anymore. They work in small groups, and they also have entire classroom instruction that happens for a lot on the carpet for elementary schools. Now, that isn't safe for us to do right now. So besides all of the instruction, we also have to think about things such as busing and feeding students and all the specials classes that we have, PE and music and art, and how to even do recess. So that's just a lot to wrap our heads around. And we have great committees that are working on that. And Jenny Frericks is involved in that. Involved in making that all happen, and Allison Didier is involved as well for special ed. So we are also creating a facilities committee, and that will include representatives from the following areas: custodial staff, administration, teachers, and food service. So the purpose of that committee is to look at research through CDC, as well as ISBE and regional guidelines. So then plans will be put in place. Once those plans are put in place, determine what materials that we need to purchase. So there's a lot of work still to be done. We have an amazing staff that have been working on this nonstop since March 13th. Wanted to give a quick food service update, and then that's the end, and I'll field any questions you have. Every week, our distribution numbers have been less and less. So 2 weeks ago, it was at 6,220, and this past Monday, it was only at 5,558. Remember, we used to serve 10,000 meals a week, and we would run out of food. So we attribute that decline to an increase in other avenues or areas for families, such as SNAP. That's what we're thinking. Our last weekly breakfast and lunch distribution was this past Monday. We moved to breakfast only weekly distributions on Mondays from 9 to 11. There is an odd date thrown in there because of the holiday. So the odd date is tomorrow. We will have our first breakfast distribution from 9 to 10, and that is to replace the May 25th holiday. And all meal distributions will stop at the end of June. And they are able to go to the youth center where Andy Graham is serving lunch every day. Any questions?
Anybody have any questions, comments?
I have one question. I don't know if you can answer it, Michelle. What is going to be our guideline to opening in the fall? Are we going to do whatever ISBE says or whatever the state says, or?
Yeah, and Jenny's on here too, and she can jump in, but we would be following the guidelines of ISBE and the health department, because they will be working hand in hand. So that's where our guidance comes from.
Great, thank you.
Okay, anybody else have any comments regarding that? Then if not, then we have go to item B in the in section 29 about retirements.
Yes.
And that's Michelle's up again.
So we're not able to do retirements in the way we like, which is to have gatherings and usually at the schools where our retirees work. So I just wanted to take a minute to recognize 2 retirees. So Sherry White is our only licensed school nurse at this time. Sherry started at RCS in 2021 school year and left in 2009. So she missed us so much that she returned to us in 2015. We will miss her wisdom, sensibility, thoroughness, caring, and calm presence. Mostly we'll miss her laughter. I personally got to see her work when dealing with a tenuous situation, in which her attention to detail and going above and beyond resulted in the best care for a student, and it also resulted in the best care for the district. She was also amazing in a situation a few years ago involving an unfortunate situation a few years ago involving one of our own staff members. Her background and experience as to how to handle that situation was heavily relied upon. She has certainly been through so much with us. She will be missed more than you know. Sherry will retire to Lake of the Ozarks, where she and her husband purchased a home and they will live on the lake. Linda Tyree is our head cook at Broadmeadow. She too started during the same year Sherry did, in 2000-2001, but came mid-year as a sub-cook. The next school year, she became a cook and then a head cook. Linda is very meticulous in every facet of her job, not to mention very dependable and responsible. Debbie could count on her 24/7. No matter when, day, night, or weekend, if Debbie would contact her, she would respond immediately. For example, when another cook injured her foot in the middle of summer school, Debbie contacted Linda at 8 p.m. at night. Linda responded and showed up with minimal notice to take this employee's place the following morning. Her dedication will be hard, if not impossible, to replicate. Linda is very much into home projects and crafts. She and her husband are remodeling their home currently, and she enjoys spending time with her grandkids. So we will miss them both.
Okay, well, thank you very much. And I'd like to thank those 2 for the continued service to our district for all those years. Dedicated. Item C, which mentioned in the previous item, it's a regular board meeting, which is June 18th. And then item D, the Triple I conference. That's November 20th through the 22nd. And the superintendent wanted me to remind the board members to please communicate with her regarding specific needs by June 1st, as listed in the packet. And then let's open it up to the rest of the board members. At this time, any board members have any comments, questions, or concerns that they would like to address to the rest of the board at this time?
I just have a question. Michelle, have you heard anything about the III? I mean, I'm thinking that it's probably not going to happen.
I'm thinking it's not going to happen. I have heard nothing. I was really hoping that we would have heard something by now, but I have heard nothing. But on the other hand, we also haven't heard anything about getting a hotel room for the conference. And usually, usually
those have already been sent out, right?
And we haven't heard anything. So I doubt that this will happen. But just in case, we usually don't get a ton of notice. So,
well, you know, we would have to be in phase 5 for that to happen. And the only way that's going to happen is if there's a vaccine.
Right.
So I really think that that's probably not going to happen. And I would imagine probably by June 1st, we might be hearing that it's canceled.
Yeah.
Okay.
I hope.
Didn't know if you'd heard any scuttlebutt, but I'm thinking it's not going to happen.
So if you know, you tell me, and if I hear anything, I'll tell you.
Right. And yeah.
You may hear first.
I may, because some of us are asking. So yeah. I will let you know if I hear anything.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Any other board members have anything?
Yeah, I just wanted to, this is off the subject of the III meeting, but I wanted to recognize the Boys and Girls Club. During a time where my daughter, has been out of school, they've been really good in contacting her, and also a lot of good informational programs that they've had, and they've done it through Zoom. And as I was telling my daughter that may be something that she needs to get used to soon. So again, I want to recognize the Boys and Girls Club and just let you guys know what good of a job they've been doing.
Okay.
Great.
Great.
Yeah, that's good to hear, because I've not heard a parent perspective of how they were doing this. That's good to hear.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions, comments, concerns?
I did want to thank the board for their patience tonight. You knew coming into this, it was going to be an extremely unusually long board meeting. So I appreciate that. We had a lot to present. June will be much, much briefer, especially for everybody out there who is watching this live, may have already given up on us. Typically, our board meetings are not near this long.
Well, I appreciate everything everybody's done in these trying times to try to keep things going, like the Boys and Girls Club and the teachers and the principals and the rest of the staff and the custodians and, the cooks, the people passing out meals. I'm just so impressed and proud of the district.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And I'd like to apologize. I don't know what happened. I was fine till Bill sat down after the pledge and my screen froze. So I yelled at my husband to go down, turn the modem on and off. It wasn't our internet. I don't know what happened, but then I really am not comfortable being here because of his health, but I'm glad I came.
Thank you for coming. Maybe next month we'll be all in person.
Wouldn't that be fun?
I think we could be, but I don't know that I want to be. So
It's for whoever's comfortable.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, folks, if you guys don't have any objections, I just got one thing I'd like to bring up before we move on to the next item. And that is, I sent an email to the board members and two people responded back. And what it was is, I just wanted to get your board members' opinion on the public forum. I was just wondering if some board members might think that it might be okay for us to call the individuals rather than them try to send emails in, because some people don't always have access to emails and everything else. Two board members had responded back, Sandra Ulott and Mr. Keys, which I appreciated. Also, I did speak with the superintendent regarding it too. So I have to say right now, so between four people, we're split, okay? So I was just wondering if board members might think about this, and it's only for the time that we have to do these virtual meetings because due to COVID-19. But if you guys just maybe send me an email, think about your thoughts as to whether or not you'd like to do this. And then what I'd like to do is once I get that information, I was going to sit down and talk to superintendent again, and then we'll go from there.
Bill.
Yes.
Bill, did you send it to our Gmail address?
Yes.
I never received that, or I would have responded. I'm sorry.
That's all right. No, and that's why I wanted to bring it up, because I wasn't certain if you had access to I sent it all to the RCS board, so it goes to everybody. And I don't know if yours is set up or not.
Yeah, I didn't receive it.
Maybe you could send it again, Bill, or just tell everyone while we're on here that the choices are either let people email their questions in ahead of time, or that we call them, and then for the board to let you know which way we want to go. And you already know how I feel about it, so I won't say anything else.
But like Sandra said, the biggest thing was instead of that emailing, or they could just either call or send an email to the superintendent's office with their name and phone number, and then that will be presented to me, and then I will make the phone calls during the public forum, and that gives an opportunity for them to voice their grievance over the telephone, and so all the board members can hear it. So,
Maybe
Or
you
so they could voice their praise.
or voice your praise, exactly. But,
The only
you
thing
could
I
just send
see
the
with
email
that
again.
is if they take more than their time and you keep saying you've run out of time and they keep talking, you're basically going to have to hang up on them.
And
exactly.
that seems rude.
And
I don't.
That
so,
was my thought.
Yeah.
So
I'd rather, I don't know what I'd rather do. I'll think on it and see if I can come up with another idea, because I just hate the thought of you hanging up on people.
Oh, well, hey, I understand that too. So just something to think about for the rest of the board members. And then just send me an email if you say yay or nay. Okay. I appreciate it. Just want your thoughts. Okay.
Okay.
Anything else for the board? If not, then item number 32.
I make a motion to adjourn.
I second.
Mr. Steve made the motion. Ms. Ulat seconded. And
That was Ms.
do I
Fitzgerald.
say all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you all. Thank you for attending the meeting. Be safe.
You too.
Okay.
Be safe, everyone.
I'm going to end the meeting and Facebook Live. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.